Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. My name is Alicia Dunphy-Culp, and I'm the Director of First and Second Year Initiatives at Villanova. I'm really excited to welcome you all here, wherever you may be this evening. And although it's unfortunate I can't be having this panel with all of you in person, I think you're going to find it's going to be really cool and hopefully answer a lot of your questions. And while we're talking about questions, I know that there will be a lot of questions asked tonight, and we're going to try and get through as many as we can. We do have some students that will be joining us in a few minutes who are happy to answer from their point of experience and what we've seen and heard on our campus and what they were thinking about when they were in your shoes a few years ago. So we will be getting to your questions. We are going through them as they come in. We're just trying to kind of manage them as they do. So I want to talk a little bit about the next few months. Congratulations and welcome. We are so excited to be seeing you soon as the class of 2024. And we wanted to, as we answer all of those questions, I wanted to first take a minute to give you some general information that might answer some of those initial questions. Want a little bit about what to expect once you deposit with us and what some of you may have already seen or heard, and want to make sure that we have the right information out there. So first of all, when you deposit with us, we will be sending you a lot of information. And the first thing that I'm going to say, and I'm probably going to say it 3 or 4 more times, is to check your Villanova email. It's so important for the students to be checking. That is how we will be communicating with them from the deposit point on. Once we get you set our system, we do expect that you are checking it. That's how we send you some really important information, such as your housing contract, what your mailbox number will be, so you can send all those packages there, and some of that important things that you're looking for the summer will go directly to that Villanova address. And so it's important that you set aside some time, whether it's a calendar reminder or a mother reminder, to check your Villanova email every other day or so. You don't want to be missing a deadline and find out that you could have something in advance. So we want to make sure that you're checking that Villanova email while we send you the following important information. The first thing that we're probably going to be sending out to all of you is, besides our congratulations, of course, is the Parents Handbook, meant for parents and family members. It's about a 65-page booklet that we put together in Student Life to give you what will be a 4-year resource manual. So that is something that we are super excited about bringing to the parents and to the families, because it is something that welcomes you also into the Villanova community and gives you a lot of those phone numbers, websites, handy dandy questions to be asking your student, and how to kind of prepare for that next step of coming to campus in August. But then also 2 or 3 years down the road, when you're thinking differently about your Villanova experience and looking forward towards graduation and getting a job, we also have career services in there. So it's meant to be that 4-year guide, even if you don't need something right away. So parents and families will be receiving that in the mail, which is a nice kind of place to take notes. There's some sections in the back for you to scribble down some information of what you need, what questions you might have. So that's all right in one place. Also, we are going to be putting a lot of information out on social media, whether it's the orientation Instagram or Villanova's information, Facebook. There's lots of groups out there for the class of 2024 officially that can bring a lot of people together and start that community process. But we also want to remind you to consider your source. So if you're looking for the date of freshman move-in and someone on Facebook says that it's Tuesday the 18th, that is not true. It is Wednesday the 19th, and you would want to have some important information like that from a reliable source at the university, not just what someone throws out there in social media. So make sure you're considering your sources. I don't think anyone is looking to have you move in early. But we want to make sure that there isn't just some false advertising out there or a mix-up of dates on their end that then they're sharing with you. So please, if you have any specific questions, we are more than happy to answer them and have an entire staff ready to field those calls. So social media is a great way to connect. I just remind you to consider your source when you're looking for specific information about your own experience. And then also we send out through orientation, a weekly email newsletter called VU 101. And that is something that it's an email that will have specific information pertinent to that week. So there's 2 or 3 things in that email. It's not overwhelming. It's easy to read on your phone. And we also try to send that to parents as well to keep you So what we are doing with that is we will send you a reminder that it is almost time for the deadline to pick your meal plan. If you don't select a meal plan, one will be selected for you. Things like very important things like your picture on your wild card. If you're send that in and your mom sends it in because the deadline is coming up, and perhaps it is not the picture that you intended to put in, you will want to be fixing that. So you have to pay attention as a student to everything that we're sending over to you and making sure that you're keeping on your own deadlines. But we try and bring these weekly emails to you so that you'll be kind of in the know and be able to be reminded rather than overwhelmed with just one big long list of things. So we want to make sure that you're checking that Villanova email to get all of this great information and respond appropriately. We realize that a lot of students have a lot of individual questions, things like, what about, my specific situation, or what about my specific residence hall needs, or something like that. It's best to reach out and contact on your individual students' behalf to those offices. But we do hope to push out so much information that you kind of have the generic things down. And then when you need to follow up about your specific needs that are pertinent to your college or your experience, you can do that. The housing contract will be available for all of our, regular decision and early acceptance students on May 4th. So that is an important date. We suggest that you put that on your calendar. It is open for about a month. So it is not that you need to jump in there at 12:01 on May 4th. It probably won't even be available until a little bit later that day for our friends in different time zones. But you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on that date, able to give us all the information there. You do not need to select a roommate when you go in to do May 4th, the housing contract. So that is something that we get a lot of questions about and hopefully will be helpful to some of you. So the housing contract is available May 4th, and you put in the information, you being the student, not the parent, put in the information there about when you like to study, when you like to go to sleep, when you like to wake up. And we take that information and can kind of merge it with everyone and find you a roommate that might have similar lifestyle. People are finding roommates through the Facebook group and things like that, or hometowns. That's your decision of whether you wanted to kind of go with something through our system or find someone yourself. But if you find a roommate, you need to both put each other down in order for that match to work. I would also highly suggest that if geographically possible, it would be great to connect with your roommate to get to know them a little before you commit. There's kind of this awkward time where you're not sure, you want someone, they seem cool, they seem fine, social media suggests that they're normal. But we do hope that you actually meet in person to really have some of those discussions about those things we're asking you on the housing contract, such as, are you going to go to bed early and the other person's going to stay up super late? That seems to be a disconnect. So sometimes someone could be a really nice person, but just isn't a great roommate fit for you. So make sure you're doing some informative searches there. Through the housing contract is also where you'll be signing up for COMMUNITAS, which is our living learning community, and talk about in a second. But that is all in one place. So it's nice to have it right there for you. Again, checking your Villanova email will get you into that housing contract with all that information. An important aspect of your Villanova experience that I have personal excitement for is orientation. We have a 4-day orientation program that happens right before classes start. We don't do a summer program. We haven't done a summer program in the past, and it's really great for us to do it right before classes, that students can automatically start off fresh on the first day of classes and have all the information right in their pocket versus learning it earlier and trying to remember it. So we're super excited to have our new students be moving in on Wednesday, the 19th, and that is an all-day process. So there isn't a lot else going on that day for parents and students, although there's some social opportunities for students. But with moving 1,700 students onto campus, we need a whole day to do that. So we have a lot to do, and we want to be able to have this space to get you settled, run and forget the thing that inevitably we're going to forget, and then come back to campus, enjoy some time with your family and your new roommate. So we want to make sure that our students are settled on the 19th, and then we'll officially kick off orientation with opening day on Thursday, August 20th. And that day is also for parents. So it's great to be able to stay Wednesday into Thursday if possible, and be fresh for Thursday morning. We have a parents resource fair, other parent info sessions and tours available if you weren't able to get into certain places that you wanted to kind of really see and kind of get more information as a parent. Then the students and the parents all come together for our university welcome at 1:15, typically held in our campus green with Father Peter, our student chairperson, and a few other speakers that are there to welcome you into our community. We'll have some time together in the afternoon with our orientation staff, with both the parents and the students, as well as with the college dean, whichever college you're in. You'll be meeting with them. And then we all come together for a community mass at 4:30 that evening. It ends around 5:30, and then we have a picnic dinner. So the entire day for parents ends by 7 o'clock. Students will then continue with their orientation experience from 7 p.m. on Thursday till around 7 p.m. on Sunday night. So we have a lot going on in those 4 days. We spend the first one with the parents and certainly want to make sure that you are feeling as settled as a new student, but then continue with the students as we keep going. Super excited to welcome them into our community in small groups with their orientation counselor by their side. So we have a lot of programs throughout the 4 days that will help set up students for success. And beyond those 4 days, for the first 6 weeks, for that first semester, the orientation counselor is a resource for much longer than 4 days. The students are encouraged to reach out to them and have that be a relationship that they build and sustain. So they ask them about course selection, roommate selection for the next fall. If what were their experiences with study abroad? They're a great peer resource. So I would suggest and encourage students to kind of cultivate that relationship and keep that going. Some things that we cover during orientation are things like campus resources, really simple things that people need to live on our campus successfully, like using your wild card that has that picture on it that you were supposed to send in July. And making sure that you know how to access the laundry system, your Nova Bucks, getting into the fitness centers, really basic logistical things, as well as important kind of lifestyle opportunities. Living on a campus means that you have a lot of things right at your fingertips. So navigating the meal plan is an important thing. And we want to make sure all of our students know where they're going and what they're getting and where they can best use their meal plan and their points. So the orientation counselor walks them through all of that. The staff is there to be helpful, as well as, things like the basketball lottery. It's not coming up for a couple months after they get there, but we're there to help them with that as well. So we want to make sure that those first couple weeks on campus are covered in orientation with some basic premise, academic components such as the Writing Center, Learning Support Services, Math Learning Resource Center, and the Center for Presentation and Tutoring. We want to make sure that your students know about that. Maybe they have no problems with papers and that's nothing that they need. We're still going to tell them about it anyway, because at some point in their 4 years, they might need to hit up the Writing Center. Same thing with math. Some students come in and say, I need to know where the Math Center is right away. And other students realize that when they get there, they just need a little bit of help along the way. It's our job during orientation to introduce your student to all of those resources. And then when they need them, reintroduce them if necessary and remind them of all the great things on our campus. So the 4 days are packed with everything from social and community bonding. We do have a final committee mass that we bring together the entire class, which will be the only time that they're all together until 4 years from then when they're celebrating their commencement. So it's a very special occasion, and a lot happens in those 4 days. And I'm going to ask our students to share a little bit with you in a second. But there is a great kind of capture of the Villanova spirit that we kind of really just grows and grows bigger each year. It surprises me each time that I realize that there's more and more love for Villanova throughout that orientation program. It's really nice to share that with our new community members. So we'll talk about social experiences, academic expectations, and importantly, set them up for success. We want to make things like the involvement fair that happened in those first few weeks something they go to with their orientation group, focus on what they want to do and what they want to continue to do, or something brand new that is super exciting to them that they want to find here at Villanova. Then other piece of the puzzle that I'm just going to talk briefly about is our COMMUNITAS program, which is our living learning communities here at Villanova. And COMMUNITAS is a great opportunity for students to live together with other students that have similar mindset around a certain theme. However, in the roommate situation, it is not that you have to pick someone within the same theme. It is not that you have to pick someone who's also in COMMUNITAS. We kind of work all that out when we do our housing contract. So you don't have to worry about that when you're picking roommates, but you should really make the best choice for you when thinking about COMMUNITAS. About a third of our freshman class is involved in COMMUNITAS, and there are, I believe, 10 themes that go along with that. So I'll explain the program a touch, and then I'm going to ask our students to share a little bit about their experience as well. So in our learning communities in COMMUNITAS, we have each of the 16 groups of a group of 16 students goes to their Augustin and Culture Seminar class together. That's a class every single Villanova takes, and it's great to experience a class with those 16 students that you're seeing in the classroom 2 or 3 times a week, and also living within the residence halls. We see a lot of synergy between students, seeing each other in different environments and connecting. Another environment that you would take part in COMMUNITAS is the COMMUNITAS theme that we're going to be working with. And as I mentioned, there's 10 themes that each hold 1 credit. So you are assigned for the COMMUNITAS theme for the entire year, and at the end of the year, you would get 1 credit assigned if you're successful in the course. The themes that we have are leadership, art and culture, faith and reason, global perspectives, Caritas, which is our service learning community, healthy living, creative writing, science, inquiry, and self, social justice and inclusivity, and environmental leadership. So those are the 10 themes, and in the PDF that admissions sent out with the registration is a graphic of Villanova students and all of these themes, and a little bit more about COMMUNITAS. So if you ever need to reach us, feel free to just search bar COMMUNITAS and it'll show up. So those 10 themes, what you would do is pick one. You'll have a second choice as a backup just in case, but you'll pick one, and we will assign you, when we look at the housing contract, that you would be in the certain building with other students. So for instance, if you decided that the leadership learning community was part of what you wanted to do, then you will live with the other students who are in those sections of leadership. And then you will have your 16 that you Augustin and Culture Seminar with, and meet once a week to get that 1 credit in the leadership theme. So you end up building a really great relationship, not only with those 16 students that you will see more and more throughout the week than the average class, but also you get to know other students that are in the building that have also signed up for other themes. So it's great to be connected to other students that have some similar mind about different lifestyles, exploring opportunities at Villanova, wanting to get more involved, wanting to find community on campus. So COMMUNITAS is a great program. Again, over a third of the new students end up getting into their theme and being successful there. So it is something where we kind of partner living and learning together really well, and the relationships can continue for years. Many of our students have roommates that were, as seniors, that were with them somewhere in the community from freshman year. And then, the students, one of the real big bonuses of COMMUNITAS is that in that classroom with the theme, no matter what the theme, we're covering transitional issues, kind of common concerns of first-year students, making a connection with those students in all those different environments, but also you're introduced to a direct resource as a staff member like myself, who is with those students, the same students every week, really gets to know them well and develops that great relationship. There's also 2 upperclassmen peer mentors that are assigned to each COMMUNITAS theme, so that they end up connecting with each of their sections and being another resource of an upperclassman who might be in a major you're considering or might be involved in a group that you wanted to join. And you can really have a great conversation with them a few weeks in and go through the process together. So addressing those transitional issues are great. Getting that additional credit is a positive component, but it's not an overwhelming amount of work. The additional credit comes from both the fall and the spring semester, and so asked usually to write a reflection, or in lieu of a reflection, attend an event on campus as a group, and then possibly something like go to dinner afterwards or have a group discussion. So it's really something that gets them out and about in our Villanova community, which is super great for them to have a experience with similar interests. So I'd like now to, now that I've shared a few of those general information, dates, and guidelines, I'd like to introduce some students that we're going to be starting with that will share some experience. Again, they're going to be the ones answering some of those questions that you're throwing in there. So we want to make sure that they have the best possible opportunity to answer as many as you can. So I know that you're sick of hearing from me, and I'm happy to hand it off to some of our students I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, their hometown, major, class year, and we'll kind of move through each of them. And then I'll go back and ask them a couple of the questions that have been selected tonight. So first I'll start with Gillian. You want to join us?
Hello, my name is Gillian Lavins. I'm a senior English and secondary education major from just outside of Chicago in Hinsdale, Illinois.
Great. And Maanav?
Hi, I'm Maanav Patel. I'm a junior finance pre-med student from Yardley, Pennsylvania, and I was in the global community.
Great. Devan?
Hi, I'm Devan Joshi. I am a senior computer science major, and I am from Brookfield, Connecticut.
Great. And Liz?
Hi, I'm Liz. I'm a junior chemical engineering major from Stratford, Connecticut.
So we'll start with one of the questions that, I think is on a lot of people's minds about orientation. What's the most helpful component of orientation? How did it help set you up for success in the rest of your experience at Villanova? Would anyone like to start?
I can start. Something that was really helpful to me was the College of Engineering assigned us all peer mentors on, I think, our second day of orientation. So I got to meet with a junior who was in my major at the time, and she had a lot of helpful advice about what classes we were going to be taking, what we could expect of our curriculum, and different resources available to our specific major. So that was really helpful for me as a freshman.
Any other thoughts on orientation?
One of my favorite things about the orientation program is how you will go there and you'll go right into school. So having those 4 days to get close to your orientation counselor and a group of about 20 new students who are like in your shoes just as well is a really cool segue into starting college. So I remember, especially like within the first few weeks and months of freshman year, really relying on my orientation counselor a lot because she was someone who was at school too, and everyone else in my group as well was also going through like the beginning of freshman year. So it's really cool to have that transition right away into the start of your freshman year.
And then moving on to what might be a great experience or the biggest benefit to being in a learning community. Maanav, are you there?
Yeah, for sure. So being in a learning community was an amazing experience of taking, the ACS class that everybody else takes, but also having the opportunity to get to know a group of students on a even like deeper level than another ACS course. So having that extra 1 credit course in which all in the same dorm together just facilitates a way for you to get to meet even more people. And having that theme as well just keeps people together with their interests. So it already creates like a small community for you on campus just through one of your classes.
And now I'd like to open it up to some questions from the audience here that are signing things in. And if we have some technical difficulties, I can try and answer some of them as well. Someone asked if there was an application for COMMUNITAS, and there is. It's part of the housing contract. So when that becomes available on May 4th, you'll be able to go in and do your regular housing contract and then select which of the themes you would like to be in. It's not really an application. It's more of just checking off a few boxes, letting us know a few of your interests. But that selection process happens over the summer. And then we let you know with your housing assignment in basically late July, early August, which theme you are selected into. Let's see here. Another question is about let's see. Do the living learning communities live in a certain residence hall? And the answer is yes, they all live together in a certain residence hall, but we don't know which one that is yet. So they're always on South Campus, which is located on one side of Lancaster Avenue behind the new parking garage and some of the newer buildings known as the Commons. So that is known as South Campus, and that's where all of our learning communities are housed. There's about a third of the class that lives up on main campus, which is where a lot of you have taken tours and work through some of the residence halls there. We don't know which residence halls exactly we'll be in, but all of the leadership people will be together with leadership. Some of the other themes will be together, like all the healthy living people will be together with healthy living. So there will be a few residence halls because we're too big to fit in one. And I'm not sure which ones, but I know that they'll all be on South Campus. So that's a easy question to answer. And someone else asked about being short a credit if they don't do COMMUNITAS. It's just an additional credit. It is not, you do not get shortened by any, it would be something you would take on top of a regular load, and it doesn't really impact the number of credits that you would take. Seems like we have another question about the transition to Villanova. Are any of our panelists able to talk a little bit about their transition?
I can talk about my transition to Villanova, yeah. So being a little closer, being a car ride away. Yeah, being a car ride away from Villanova, it kinda helped being close to home, so if I needed to go home, I could, but I ended up staying on campus basically every weekend of my freshman year. Um, there were times where I missed my family from home, and I would say overall, I think something that's really special about freshman year, which I kinda hit on earlier, is that you guys are all going through it together. So I found a lot of, like, the common problems I had in terms of just not knowing where to go or not knowing how, like, certain things worked, like, for my wild card and things like that. Everyone else is kinda in it with you. So really bonding with people in terms of that made my transition a lot easier, just knowing I'm not the only one going through all this stuff.
Anyone else want to talk about their transition? I know we're seeing some screens blurred. Anyone there?
Yeah, I could talk about my transition, especially being from the Midwest in Chicago. I knew that I wanted to go to a new part of the country, but um, I was definitely hesitant about being far away from home and not being able to get home easily. But I think because of the orientation program, the first couple of days when I was there really sped up my transition. And because we were so busy doing things all the time, meeting new people, learning things about Villanova, and constantly feeling welcomed, I felt as though I was at home right away. So I had a very quick transition because so many people were there to take care of me and to make sure that I was okay. I don't think I felt homesick for the first time until about my junior year, because everybody at Villanova is always trying to make sure that you're okay and feel at home and welcomed in the community. So I think there are just so many things to distract you and keep you busy in your first couple of weeks that maybe your homesickness isn't the first thing on your mind.
Great. And just seeing some logistical questions. Yes, there are 16 people in each ACS class, and then there are 16 people in that COMMUNITAS class as well, the same 16. So, but we have multiple sections of each COMMUNITAS theme. So there are about 15 sections of leadership. That seems to be a popular one. Each of those sections has 16 students that take the ACS and live together in the same residence hall, and are taking a COMMUNITAS theme together that meets once a week for that one credit. So it is the same people for you, but then in your residence hall, there's a larger component to that. And if there is a change that you wanted to make, we have some friends who, through early decision, had jumped in and done their housing contract, but wanted to get to know COMMUNITAS more. You can add COMMUNITAS as an option if you chose not to do it originally, but are now interested. Just let us know at our email, which is orientation@villanova.edu. Super easy to remember. So that is definitely good. And there's a question about finding out roommates, and that will happen in that late July, early August, whether you're in COMMUNITAS or not. So that is something that Residence Life does towards the end of that summer. You get exactly where you're living, who you're living with, and some contact information so that if you haven't been set up in advance, you can be together there. And let's see here. There's also some chatter about the honors cohorts, which are different than COMMUNITAS. They have a different setup. Those are for students who are already admitted to the honors program, and they will be following up with more information about selecting a cohort to be in. That, again, provides a residential experience of those students being together, which is great, and then going through some of the honors process together. But their cohorts have different themes, and they change a bit year to year. So I'm not sure what they are for the upcoming class, but want to make sure that I address some of the honors components. Let's see. There is a question about Greek life at Villanova. Are any of our panelists willing to chat about their experience with Greek life?
Yeah, I would be happy to talk about my experience with Greek life. Coming into college, I knew that going through sorority recruitment was something that I was definitely interested in. and Villanova has a second semester sorority recruitment process, and I really appreciated that it was second semester. So first semester I was able to really get close with the people in my learning community of leadership, the other people in my dorm, friends from classes, and get involved in other aspects of campus before going through sorority recruitment. So by joining a sorority, I just added another layer of friendship, another layer of friends into my circle. And I think that Villanova Greek life is very philanthropy focused and doesn't carry that stigma that it might at some other schools. I think it's a really great opportunity to enhance your Villanova experience and to grow your network and support system.
Any other panelists want to weigh in on Greek life?
I can talk about Greek life as well. Yeah. So I joined a fraternity, and Rush starts the spring of freshman year. And I think what I was looking for within a fraternity was a good group of guys to, kind of similar to what I had from home, just a closely knit group that enjoyed hanging out in all different facets of life. And I think it's really nice to just go in to a group knowing that you're all looking for the same sort of things. And Greek life isn't like a crazy like commitment or anything. Like I was a little worried going into college that if I was in a fraternity, that was the only thing that I could be doing with all my time. And I found that so many students across so many different Greek life organizations are still able to like have their foot in a Greek life circle, but also just like do whatever else they want to do on campus as well.
Great. And we actually have another follow-up question, if anyone's available, about getting involved in clubs and organizations outside of Greek life, and how much time that takes up, or how you kind of balance your time with some of those extracurriculars. So if anyone has any information about, being involved in something specific and having it kind of build some friendships as well as take away some of that free time, does anyone want to share?
Yeah, I can chime in here. So the great part of Villanova is that there's also a ton of opportunities with like student life in general. They're really supportive of clubs on campus. So I've had the privilege of being a part of multiple clubs in a lot of different like leadership positions, as well as was going to have the opportunity this spring to bring a new club onto campus, and going through that process and seeing how much the school supports students in that sense, whether that be like a socially focused club, a culturally club, or even like an academically like centered club. The school really wants to provide that for students, and so the staff in that department has been so helpful. And also just being a student in a club, like there's a great way for you to meet other students with like your passions, how many or whatever they are. And like my suggestion would be just to come in with a really open mind. Like maybe you'll do the thing that you did in high school again, that kind of club, or maybe you'll find something completely different that you fall in love with. So coming in with like an open mind in that sense is like a great piece of advice I'd give.
There are a couple of questions about academics, and so I'm going to answer some of the basic ones. You will be filling out a survey that can kind of connect you with some of the general courses that you'll be taking in fall semester of your freshman year, so this coming fall of 2020. Our registrar uses that to place everyone who has already declared a major into certain areas and kind of put you on that track. But then also anyone who's exploring and undecided will then go in and take they'll fill them in with some general classes that will count towards them kind of finding out what they'd like to do, as well as counting towards those credits. So every freshman will be taking that Augustine and Culture seminar. We refer to it as ACS in case you hear that. And so that is an automatic load in, as well as other pieces to the puzzle. But sometimes, for example, I know Liz would tell you in engineering, they have a pretty rigorous schedule and they make sure that everything is plotted out. And so it's really easy for us to take a first year student schedule and plot that through for what they would need in the fall, knowing that there's some sequential courses in something like engineering or something like the sciences. So we want to make sure that we set you up for success, and you would not have specific choices over which class. You will get a class associated with your fall 2020 for freshman year. Get a list of about 5 classes is pretty much the norm, although I would say between some labs, things like COMMUNITAS, you can get up to 16 and 17. But we do want to make sure that our students are not too overloaded with some of their courses. So we'll make sure through the registrar that you have the courses you need within the major that you are, and then kind of track you along that. So we kind of make sure that you're doing well. Now, that being said, some students are really concerned about their timing of classes and whether or not they want to wake up at 8 in the morning. I would yield the suggestion that right now, when we were in school mode for high schools, I'm sure you were waking up much earlier than you will have to for a Villanova class. Some of you have classes that start at 7 in the morning. But we also want to recognize that it's not necessarily something that is easily changeable. So while there is a drop add period that you can do when you get here, and you can certainly talk to your advisor, which we coordinate through orientation before classes even start, and you can make some changes then. But we also let you know that there isn't anything else you have to do besides fill out your academic course survey. The registrar takes it from there and puts you in the right courses. If you want to make some switches when you get here, when you get your schedule, you're welcome to do that. Those schedules are released usually mid-August, so right before you're coming to campus. So there isn't this ideal world where everybody has classes that start late and are only on certain days and they have Fridays off. So right now we put you in the classes that we need to put you in to make sure that you're on track. From that point on, to select for spring 2021, you will be in charge of your schedule. You will be the one who meets with an advisor and coordinates all of the classes that you need to take. However, you're still not always in control of when they're offered. Sometimes they're only offered at 8:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and that is a necessity. So we do have some information about classes that will be coming out. Again, once you're deposited and we get some more information about our class, we'll be sending you more opportunities like that academic planning survey that will help the registrar kind of put you in the right spot. So that is something that is important to some folks on the academic side of things. But you have plenty of time to, think of your major, work with the college that you're enrolled in to kind of make sure that you're on the right track. If you have any specific components, they would be the best ones directly to the college that would do there. As well as there's a question about some academic resources. Have any of our panelists use Learning Support Services or the Writing Center or Math Learning Resource Center and want to talk about it? Or tutoring?
Oh, yep, that was me. I was going to say, just as an engineering student coming in, I had never, high school, I didn't really usually use tutoring as a resource. But coming in, taking some really advanced science classes, some really advanced math classes, there was definitely a bit of a learning curve. So I went to the Math Resource Center a few times my freshman and sophomore year, and I met with some graduate students who were very helpful, definitely helped me pass a few quizzes. And they also have some group tutoring. So I know a big one is organic chemistry. It typically tends to be a popular tutoring class, and they would do group tutoring where you would meet with one student tutor facilitator and then maybe 3 or 4 other students in your class and do some group work. And I found that to be really helpful.
And that's true of the Math Learning Resource Center and some other tutoring options as well, and Learning Support Services, which covers a variety of topics. Go ahead, Gillian.
Being an English major, I definitely rely on the Writing Center heavily. I love the Writing Center because you can go in at any stage in the writing process. You can just come in with the prompt and nothing else and say, I'm totally stumped. I don't know where to start. Can you help me out? You can come in with an outline and they'll help you start to develop your outline into paragraphs. You can come in with a rough draft or a final draft just to go through it with somebody else. And I think that my writing has significantly improved through my time at Villanova. And I would say that's definitely a big part of that is the Writing Center. And the tutors in the Writing Center are either graduate students, undergraduate students, or professional tutors. And you can sign up and oftentimes choose which tutor you would like to meet with. So you can meet with a different tutor every time to get different specialties or different types of advice, or you can, meet with one tutor, really connect with them, and revisit with them frequently. So it's really up to you about how you would like to tailor your Writing Center experience. They're very flexible, and I would definitely I recommend to every new student and freshman I know that they definitely hit the Writing Center early on in their Villanova experience so that they know how useful it is moving forward and can get your most use out of it in your 4 years because it is included in your tuition. So it's no extra cost.
Great. There's a couple questions I want to get to. And it's funny, one of the questions is, describe Villanova in 3 words. And I know we're having some technical difficulties, but this is something our panelists would certainly thrive in, because this is something that they love to do, is talk about their Villanova experience. And I would say that probably encompassing all of them, the first 3 words that would come to their brain are Veritas, Unitas, and Caritas, which are the 3 foundational pillars that we have here at Villanova, being truth, unity, and love. So it is definitely something that we kind of see in a lot of different organizations and experiences. Certainly truth, seeking the truth in our academic settings, the idea of coming together through unity and Unitas and having that community feel, as well as gathering spaces and programs, but also that spirit of Unitas. And then also, of course, Caritas, which is love. We kind of see that in all we do here at Villanova through our service experiences, but also you'll see that in the classroom, which is not something that, you would naturally think would combine. But we are experiencing a lot of Caritas these days and seeing it through our Villanovans, which is very heartwarming. Let's see, we want to get another question or 2 in. Let's see, there's a few questions about roommates from your freshman year. Does anyone want to explain if they went random or if they selected someone in advance and how that worked out?
I could talk about that. I was assigned, I had 2 roommates freshman year, which is not something that happens anymore, I believe. But I had 2 roommates, and, originally we got off to a little bit of a rough start. We didn't have the same ideas about certain things about the room, but we talked with our RA and we worked it out and we became really good friends. And I still live with one of my freshman roommates. I've lived with her every year since then, and I'm living with her next year as well. So I think Residence Life does a good job of pairing people, and you always have resources like your RA to help navigate any conflict.
Great. Anyone else want to share?
I also, my freshman year, had 2 roommates, which won't be the case for any of you, but I chose one of them and I went random with the other. So I kind of had the best of both worlds there. The girl that I chose to live with lived in my town and we just had mutual friends. So it was kind of comfortable to be able to meet with her before and be able to coordinate our move from Chicago and things like that, which was really easy. And then our random roommate, we found out at the end of July. And we all got along very well our first year, and our friendship developed and increased as the year went on. And then we all chose to live together again our junior year with another girl from our freshman residence hall. And then the 4 of us lived together again our senior year. So it was really cool to share that experience with and live with the same girls for 3 years. One of them I lived with my sophomore year, so we lived together all 4 years. And by senior year, you really know how to live together and know how to coordinate your schedules and live in the same small space together.
Great. And then there was a question that was posed specifically about freshman year, and if in kind of the student life world of student experience, kind of broader than just kind of everything outside of the classroom. One of the questions is, are freshmen, looked down upon? Are they low person on the totem pole at Villanova? How is that kind of experience, happening freshman year? Do you see that happening? Do you, support that? Or do you think that's something that is not out on our campus?
I wouldn't say that's true for our campus at all. Yeah, so I was gonna say there's not that much of like a class kind of situation. So a lot of students like freshman year do get involved with leadership opportunities. They do get involved and make a lot of upperclassmen friends. I know that when I was freshman, some of my really good friends were juniors and they graduated. So I don't think anyone really looks down upon underclassmen, whether that be freshmen, sophomores. I mean, even as like seniors, like we're looking at prospective students and like opening our arms and looking forward to students coming onto our campus. So I would say that's not really occurring on Villanova on that extent.
One last question, and then we'll kind of wrap up. What's a piece of advice that you would give to the parents who are listening for that first summer, the first semester? Was there anything that your parents did that was particularly helpful that you could pass along?
This is one of my favorite pieces of advice to give to parents, especially since it's something special that my parents did, but that I guess I realized after the fact. But as a person who only lives 45 minutes away from school and it's very easy for me to get home whenever I want, I was glad that my parents didn't really pressure me to come home every weekend. I know as much as they want to, if you're from the area, you could be oh, you'll be home in a half hour, have dinner with us and then go back home the next morning. As much as that would be nice, and maybe they sometimes do want to come home really quickly for a weekend, the first month or two of school, I think staying on campus for the weekends and as much as they can to get acclimated to the school and meet friends is super important. So even if your child can come home really quickly for the weekend, I think they always will say I'd rather just stay here on the weekend, and I guess don't feel bad about it. I think it's good evidence that they're thriving at the new school.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to hear some parent involvement that even someone who can go home close by, like Maanav, perhaps doesn't. So even for those folks who are further away, the campus is very active both throughout the week and throughout the weekend. So it's not, a suitcase school. It is not a place that people flee. It is a place that people really call their home. So it's great to know that even with some opportunities to go home, with Maanav living so close, wants to stay. The desire is there to stay with us on campus and be a really strong member of our community, just as much as he is a strong family member. I think that, I want to give just a little bit more information. I want to thank our panelists. I know we're having some technical difficulties, but some of the answers I heard are so valuable for our new students and their parents and families to hear. And I only wish that you could share your story more because A, I know you all love Villanova very much, and B, it's great for you to share that with incoming students. It just gets them excited to become part of our community. So just a reminder that the orientation dates, the 18th of August is a move-in day. The 20th is opening day with parents attending. And then from the 20th evening at about 7 p.m. on to the 23rd, classes start on the 24th, but that weekend, those 4 days, 20th to 23rd, is the orientation program for the new students. And if anyone has any questions about either something that they heard today from a panelist or want to follow up on something specific, super happy to take those questions and answer them at our email address, orientation@villanova.edu. That could be a question about COMMUNITAS, a question about orientation, a question about parent stuff, or even one for a specific panelist who's in a certain college that you want to connect with. They are more than happy to share with you in another setting, their opportunities that they've had here. Admissions also has a chat with a cat, which is a one-on-one or small group setting that students can connect with other students, and that is coming up in a couple weeks, and the registration is similar to this one, so you'll be getting more information there. And to my friend Nick out there who asked what 6 words I would use to describe Villanova, I think my panelists will appreciate when I quote Jay Wright, once a wildcat, always a wildcat. So we hope that you become Wildcats and join us here on our campus very soon. We hope to be back there as well. And again, if anyone has any questions, we're happy to field them via email. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good night.